Welcome to Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? This is your go-to source for practical advice and support when considering if a divorce is the right answer for you. Join us each weekday for a quick chat where we'll uncover a variety of topics such as child custody, property division, and self-care. Together, we'll explore the emotional, financial, and legal aspects of divorce and help you find the best path forward for you and your family. Here is your host and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst professional, Mike Fulkerson.
Hello and welcome to the Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer podcast. Today's topic is about considering getting a divorce. If you're in a relationship, you feel like you're at a crossroads and not sure what to do next, then we're going to discuss areas that you can review and look at for yourself to find out if divorce is the answer. Now, I'm not an advocate for getting a divorce. I am divorced myself. However, sometimes relationships just don't work out and it's better for everyone. So it's a difficult decision and we really can't take it lightly. There's a lot of things to look at with regards to emotions and finances. And it's going to have a long-term effect on all parties involved, especially children. However, as you and I might find out, staying in a relationship that is no longer working can be just as damaging. So how do we know if it's time to consider a divorce? Well, let's start with one of the biggest indicators, and that is communication, or a lack thereof. Communication is the foundation, really, of all relationships. It's important that you talk with your partner, your spouse, and even your kids. And when it breaks down, it can be difficult to fix. If we find it hard to talk about, say, our feelings, thoughts, things with the future, or perhaps we're constantly arguing and cannot reach a resolution, it may be time to consider getting a divorce. Another sign that it may be time is if you feel like you're no longer in love with your partner. If the love and passion has faded and you find that you're no longer attracted to them, it may be a sign that it's time to move on. I mean, relationships, they do take work. You have to put time in, spend time with each other, do things together, and such. But if you're not doing that, then it might be, time to look at other alternatives. I mean, it's not uncommon for couples to grow apart over time. It happens, and that's okay. And moving on is difficult, but also achievable. Finances often come into play as well when it comes to considering a divorce. If you and your partner are struggling with finances and cannot find a way to resolve the issue, it can put a lot of strain on your relationship. This stress can lead to feelings of resentment and frustration, making it difficult to maintain a healthy relationship. If you are considering getting a divorce, it's essential to take time to reflect and evaluate on your situation. I mean, really think about what's important to you and what you want for your future. Ask yourself if you see a future with your partner, and if not, what your life would look like without them. It's also important to consider seeking professional help. You may want to talk to a counselor or a therapist who can help you navigate your feelings and emotions. A professional can provide unbiased advice and help you come to a decision that's really best for you and your family. Divorce can be, a very challenging and emotional process, but it can also be a chance to start a new chapter in your life. If you decide that divorce is the right decision for you, it's essential to approach it with care and respect for yourself and your partner. So wrapping up this episode here, when you're considering getting a divorce, it is a big decision, and really you don't want to take it lightly. We want to evaluate your situation, seek professional help if necessary to come to a decision that is best for you and your family. And remember that divorce is not a failure. It can be an opportunity for growth and a chance to start a new chapter in your life. I know I've made it through the divorce process myself, and it is hard and challenging and difficult. And at the same time, I think, my family has flourished because of it. So when you make that choice, look at all aspects and come to your conclusion. If you have any questions or anything, or you want to reach out to me, feel free to get my information in the description and such, and reach out. I'm always happy to chat. And have yourself a good day. Welcome to Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer podcast, where we discuss important issues when considering getting a divorce. It's a big decision, and so you're going to want to get as much information as you can. I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, and today we'll be talking a little about property division during a divorce and why a 50-50 split may not always be equitable. We all know that divorces are challenging and difficult processes to get through, and one of the biggest that we face can be dividing property and assets. I mean, you never know who wants what piece, what asset, how it breaks down, how it works in the long run. And a common misconception is that the division should be equal. A 50-50 split right down the middle, right? But the reality is that's not always the case. So let's take a look at a few reasons as to why this may actually not be a 50-50 split right down the middle. And the first reason is that it doesn't take into account the unique circumstances of each case. I mean, every divorce is different, just like every relationship is different, just like every couple is different on how they handle things. And so when it comes to dividing property and assets, one spouse, once again, may have a, preference for a certain asset over another. And there's always a lot of different pieces that need to be taken into an account to formulate how the property division is going to take place. I mean, for example, if one spouse has primary custody of the children, they may need a larger portion of the assets to provide for the children's needs. Another reason that a 50-50 split may not work is that it doesn't consider the contributions made by each spouse during the marriage. An example of this is if one spouse was the primary breadwinner and the other took care of the home and the children. It may not be equitable to divide the assets equally. The court will consider contributions made by each spouse, including financial, non-financial, and homemaking contributions when dividing up property and assets. Lastly, a 50-50 split may not take into account any pre-existing agreements between the parties. If they have entered into a prenuptial agreement, let's say, or any other type of agreement regarding property division, the court will generally uphold these agreements unless they are found to be unfair or unenforceable. So, wrapping up here, a 50-50 division of property is not always equitable. And, the court's really looking for fair, not equal. And so they're going to take into account the unique circumstance of each case, contributions made by each spouse, and any pre-existing agreements when dividing the property. It is important to seek the advice of a qualified attorney to ensure that your rights are protected and the division of property is fair and equitable. Thank you for tuning into the Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer podcast. Don't forget, divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Join us next time as we discuss another important issue here on the podcast. Until then, stay informed and enjoy the day. Hello and welcome to Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about temporary child support during a divorce. I really want to start off with making sure we're on the same page as to understanding what temporary child support is. It's a type of support paid during the divorce process when final custody and support arrangements have not yet been determined. So this kind of takes place from the time you file for divorce until you guys work through and figure out what the custodial arrangement is. And then that's going to help determine how much child support is actually going to be paid. Now, it's really paid by the non-custodial parent at the time, and it's designed to cover the immediate needs of the children while the divorce is being processed and finalized and going through all those proceedings. Is it necessary? Well, yes and no. I mean, really, during the divorce, the financial situation of both parents can change dramatically, and temporary child support ensures that the children's needs are met while the divorce proceedings are going on. And this support can cover things like food and clothing and housing and medical expenses, and really just helps ensures that the children's needs are covered and can continue to receive the same standard of living that they had before the divorce. Now, when it comes to determining how much temporary child support should be paid, the amount is determined usually by the court, and they'll take things into account like the income of both parents, the number of children involved, and any other factors that they deem relevant. And in some cases, the court may use guidelines or formulas to calculate the amount of support, but in others, the court may use its own discretion to determine what is fair and reasonable. So, in closing here, it is important to remember that temporary child support is not meant to be a permanent arrangement, but rather just a temporary solution while the divorce is being processed and finalized. Once everything is finalized, once you have the agreements in place for child custody and child support, then the temporary child support will actually just adjust to whatever those new numbers happen to be. I want to thank you today for listening to the Breaking Ties Is Divorce the Answer podcast. And I hope the information has been helpful in understanding the role of temporary child support. If you have any questions, my information is in the description of the podcast there. Feel free to reach out and ask. I'm always happy to help. And, be sure to check us out on the next podcast coming up. And remember that divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of the next great chapter. I want you to take care and have yourself a great day. Welcome to this episode of Breaking Ties Is Divorce the Answer podcast. Today, we will talk about talk therapy and how it can help couples who are considering divorce. Divorce is very difficult and can be a painful experience. However, sometimes it can be avoided with the help of a professional. So let's explore with an open mind how a talk therapist can assist couples who are considering getting a divorce. A talk therapist can help by providing a safe and neutral space for couples to communicate effectively. If you're not feeling like you're heard, or you guys are always talking over each other, then talk therapy can provide a place of communication. And a lot of times couples have difficulty communicating their needs and desires to each other. It's pretty normal if you're considering a divorce. So a talk therapist can help them understand and express themselves in a way that their partner can understand. There are common issues that couples face that lead them to consider divorce. And those issues may include infidelity, financial problems, a lack of intimacy, and conflicts over parenting. It's important to remember that every couple is unique and the reasons for the divorce can vary. And they are what they are, and that's okay. So in most cases, communication problems are the root of the issue. Now, how can a therapist help a couple communicate better? Well, for example, if a couple is arguing about money, which is one of the highest ones for, reasons for getting a divorce, a talk therapist can help them explore the underlying issues because there's conflict and you need conflict resolution. The therapist can help them identify their individual values and beliefs about money and help them find a way to compromise and work towards common goals. Talk therapy can help a couple. However, it will take time. How much time? Well, yeah, if we knew that one, right? It really depends on the couple, their specific needs, and the issues, really. Some couples may only need a few sessions to work through their issues, while others may require more long-term therapy. It is important to remember that therapy is a process, and it takes time and a commitment from both people. And perhaps talk therapy will work for you, and you can avoid getting a divorce, which would be fantastic because, as I always say, I am not an advocate for getting divorced. The divorce process is brutal. So if you're able to patch things up and be happy, then hey, congratulations. Just keep in mind that, talk therapy is an outlet that you can have access to. And it's just not for couples. I mean, once, if you do decide to get a divorce, it's a very good outlet for during the divorce process and even after you're divorced. I am an advocate for talk therapy. I've used it myself. I think it does work. Give therapy a chance. Divorce is a major life decision, and it's important to explore all options before making the final decision. Therapy can provide couples with a safe space to communicate and work through their issues in a way that is productive and constructive. So I hope you found this episode helpful. Remember, divorce is not always the answer, and a talk therapist can help couples work through their issues and create a stronger, more fulfilling relationship. Join us next time for another episode of the podcast, Breaking Ties. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. But hopefully, you don't actually have to go through the divorce process. You're able to be happy with your situation after talk therapy. All the best. Take care. Welcome to the Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer podcast. And today's topic, we're really going to look at finding the right divorce attorney. So if you decide that you're going to actually get a divorce, one of the main factors and components of next steps would be, do you need an attorney? And some people get an attorney and some people don't. That's a personal preference, whether or not you determine it's important to you. Going through the divorce itself is difficult and emotional, very challenging. So having an attorney to help guide you and work with you throughout the process is often a really good idea. It also ensures that your rights are protected, that you're not getting taken advantage of as well. So in this podcast, we're going to discuss how to find the best attorney for your situation. Now, like I said, not everybody needs or wants an attorney, but in the end, an attorney is not a bad thing to have on your side. So for the sake of the podcast, we are going to assume that you need an attorney. Let's begin. So we're going to start is trying to find an attorney. How do we locate one? Where do we find a reputable one? And there are multiple places we can search for that. First, we can ask friends or coworkers. They may have gone through the process before, used an attorney that they liked, and they would recommend them. Give you a chance to kind of get a little background on the attorney and how they work from being the client. Family members may know, so you want to check there, and they may be able to help you with also a referral. And you could also check online. Look for local attorneys in your area. Just do a search. You can check legal associations like the American Bar Association for a list in your area as well, and they would be happy to help you. So we have a number of places where we can get referrals or information on how to find an attorney locally. Next, we want to consider their experience. Experience really is important because the laws are all different in every state. So each attorney is going to have to know the laws for the state that they represent. So we want to consider their experience. Experience is important when choosing a divorce attorney because all state laws vary slightly. They're not going to be the same. So it's important that your attorney knows how to work within the infrastructure of the state that they're representing you in. Also, you're going to want to find an attorney who has experience in handling cases similar to yours. So the more experience they have with a case similar to yours, the more you can be comforted and confident that you're going to get the right representation for your case. For example, if you have a high net worth, you may want to find an attorney who specializes in high asset divorce cases. And there again, specialization. They've got a lot of time and experience working those cases. Next, you're going to want to schedule a consultation, a chance to go in and meet the attorney face to face. And it's going to give you an opportunity to get a feel or a sense of the attorney, their personality, how they do things, And sometimes I like to just call it their vibe. Do you find that you can connect with this person? They can educate you, they can guide you, and they will listen to you. Because in the end, you are still in charge. You are paying them in the end. And so when you're at the consultation, you're going to want to ask them about their experience and approach to handling divorce cases, just to see how they do things from their end and how they communicate. And not to be left out would be their fee structure, because attorneys are running a practice. And so there is going to be fees associated with handling your proceedings. So once we're done, we want to choose the right attorney. So after we've met with a few of them, we've taken notes after each session. That way we can remember who they were, what we talked about. We're going to want to compare and evaluate their approaches and communication styles and personality and see how they fit and mesh with ours. And then once you're comfortable with one who will work with you and help you achieve your desired goals and outcomes, then you can hire that particular attorney. In conclusion, finding the right attorney can make a significant difference in the outcome of your case. It is important to start your search as soon as possible, consider their experience, schedule a consultation, and then ultimately choose an attorney you feel comfortable with. I hope this podcast has been helpful for you in your search for the right attorney. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is in the description of this episode. And keep in mind that divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Take care.
We want to thank you for listening to this episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? With Mike Fulkerson. For questions, please reach out to Mike via email in the description or give him a shout at 630-444-1410. And remember to subscribe, like, and follow.